the next panel is going to talk about the educational system from the different perspectives of the educational system. And I have the honor to invite to this panel Lev Gornik, Chief Information Officer of the Arizona State University, Yossi Baidat, CEO of the Center for Educational Technology in Israel, and Lord Jim Knight, Director of SUCLA, Chief Education Advisor of TESS, and member of the House of Lords in the UK. So thank you so much, you three, for being with us, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Cecilia. Which one of us do you want to start?
Yes, I would like to give, actually, if the Avi Warshavsky, would you like to join this panel as well? I would like to bring Avi Warshavsky to the panel. And I think, Yossi, you could kick off the conversation and provide us an introduction about how the Center for Education Technology has met the real challenges of the Israel system in the last 18 months.
Thank you, Cecilia. Thank you all. It's very good to see you here with us. And hopefully, inshallah, next year in Israel, both Tel Aviv and Yerucham, we're waiting for you there. Meanwhile, I'll try to share my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes. Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to share with you the three challenges that we have faced with CET, said the Center for Educational Technology during the COVID-19. While we understand our mission is as promoting innovative learning in a changing reality, changing and emerging reality. So how to do it? The first challenge is the digital learning, which is a well-known term or concept, but I can tell you that before the COVID, it was kind of spices to the meal. In one day, it became the main course. It was a dramatic change. And here you can see data from our digital school bag, OFEC, which is the most popular asynchronic platform in Israel for K-12. And you can see the period of time before the first wave in March, then the second wave, then the third wave. Now, why it's so dramatic, here at the y-axis, we can see the entries from about 5 million per month to about 18 million per month. In concurrent terms, it's more dramatic. And we could easily feel it was in 2 days, we could see that this dramatic change. It caught us when we were during the process to move to the cloud. And that was the first challenge. The second challenge was the skills of the users. And user, I mean the teachers as well as the students. You know, one thing is to be audience, passive audience in the Zoom meetings, but we are talking about how to get the best from our synchronic systems, and we could see a big gap in the skills of especially the teachers. You mentioned the parents before, and they became educators as well. Many parents, in Israel at least, I believe that in most of the world, found themselves during that they became one day, one morning, the educators at home. So we saw them as an address as well. The second challenge was the learning gaps. Now, usually we talk, and I'm talking about squared gaps. Why squared? First of all, between socioeconomic deciles. You can see here in the bottom three socioeconomic deciles and the top three. And before the COVID, the gap was 3 times the bottom comparing to and you can see that this gap became wider and wider. So what to do about it? It's not only the mission of CET, but the Ministry of Education has invested a lot in infrastructure, devices, etc. But we had this challenge as well. We could see easily the dropout of many students at the bottom deciles of the Israeli society from the education system. Some of them haven't came back until now, and this is still a big problem. Our third challenge was how to continue with our idea of systemic innovation. How to understand, how to innovate, and to make this the relevant intervention. And I'd like to emphasize the understanding. We had to create immediately a relevant learning group among us with some partners. We have many in Israel. The main gap or challenge was how to create this learning group with the Ministry of Education that were so busy with the emergency cases, how to do it. A few years ago, Sir Michael Barber visited CET, and that's what he said about our systemic innovation model. You can read, he saw it as an exceptional system, bridging public, including government, private, and philanthropic efforts to encourage innovation and achieve wide-scale adaptation. And here is our phases. The first phase is the garage phase, and here Mindset is fully involved. We lead the joint ideation, then the laboratory, R&D, experiments, pilots within schools, and then the scaling. We have to invite the Ministry of Education to be part of it, and then of course to finance it and to implement it on ground. It's not that easy to do it in the routine, but especially during those days, it's a big challenge, and that was the third. The way we solved it, it was by trying to create holistic and relevant creation. I mentioned the data, that we are a data-driven organization. This is one basis. The other basis was systemic innovation. And we focused on three pillars, strategic pillars. The first one is the creation of hybrid learning channels, including content, pedagogy, technology, all together, for the teacher as a mentor, which is pretty new. You mentioned it in the previous discussion. And for the independent learner, most of the learners are not like that. You remember the song of Avi. Then to invest on the teachers or the educators, we still see them the key players in the system, but not only them. I wrote here educators, not teachers, because I mentioned the parents, that are educators as well, the principal, of course, and we believe that they have to learn, have to adapt, have to know not the content, but how to manage, how to teach in this condition. And the third one, it's the complementary to school layer, the virtual campus. This is the synchronic channels that we have with the help of students, of experts all over Israel, even out of Israel, help teachers to create this system. So this is our holistic and relevant creation. I cannot tell you that we have achieved everything, but this is the basis of our strategic goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yossi. And I think knowing both Lev and Jim, I'm sure there are lots of anchors that we can find in the things you were mentioning that could be relevant for taking this discussion further. Maybe we'll start with you, Lev, and I'm thinking when Yossi was speaking about innovation in a way of a very structured way and systemic, I was thinking about the work that you are doing in ASU, which I think considers maybe the most advanced higher education institution in this field. So I'll be happy if maybe you can start with your perspective.
Sure, Avi. Good to be with all of you. My name is Lev Gonik. I am Arizona State University's Chief Information Officer. And just a word about our university here, just as by way of context, and then speak to the innovation agenda, and then the impact of COVID as among other things, a positive force for transformation here at our institution as perhaps a bellwether for what universities can be doing. So Arizona State University is in the desert, not unlike Yerucham. We're a very large institution. We have 150,000 students. That's about 50% of all of Israel's university students here at ASU. Very importantly, in terms of digital transformation, to pick up on one of USC's earliest points, ASU was among the first market movers to embrace digital and digital delivery. Now, 14 years ago, we had 400 students take online courses. If you fast forward, we now have 65,000 students in our online offerings through ASU Online, pursuing 250 degrees from our faculty here at the university. And so that first mover advantage certainly was a disruptor at the moment. It also positioned us extremely well. As Avi indicated, we have a well-earned reputation for innovation here in the U.S. Folks love to hate the U.S. News and World Reports, which is a ranking system, and ASU has ranked the #1 innovation university in this country for the last 7 years. That innovation move that we did 14 years ago to begin ASU Online positioned us extremely well for what happened in March of 20. Important to understand that from our perspective, we have 5,600 professors, faculty, and teachers, 5,600. Over 2,500 had actually participated in ASU Online activities. That's a big number. Of course, it required us and my team to actually help the other nearly 2,500 faculty inside of a week or two to actually prepare for live, remote, synchronous delivery of education. Our experience over this last 17 months, just again to give you a sense of scale and why in many ways we think of our work as sort of systemic, if not a system. We've delivered over 3 million courses, classes, class sessions over these last period of time, 11,000 classes a semester being delivered. So huge numbers. So what are the implications? What are the consequences of it? Many universities, I think all over the world, and certainly here in the United States, very much hope that they could find a way to bridge and survive during COVID. That they waxed very much with and hope that they could sort of survive and then return to the status quo ante. Arizona State University never embraced that vision. Our goal was actually to come out of COVID stronger with an even better position in the marketplace. So in fact, our infrastructure that we delivered to deliver digital education remains a very strong offering. We have over now 250 classes in the normal year, all being continued to be delivered synchronously, remotely, using the technology. Right now, over 8,000 students in those courses being delivered in that fashion. We also, in addition to kind of the use of the basic technology, we've also used this moment in time to really position what transformational pedagogy can we and should we be focused in on And as much as Zoom has defined the baseline, what is the high water mark? And as Avi, I think, saw, or at least heard when he was out in San Diego at the ASU GSV conference, ASU is taking a very, I would say, bold run at the next generation of digital education through immersive XR, extended reality education, producing STEM education courses across the curriculum that are immersive, fully haptic and driven, story-based, discovery-based, affording students with the proposition that all students can learn and actually succeed in science education if in fact the pedagogical environment supports those activities. And we have developed, I think, some outstanding indicators, and not unlike where we were 14 years ago, when we only had 400 students in that first online offering. I think here too with XR enabled services, this is a project that we're doing with a Los Angeles-based company called Dreamscape. We have now the first 2,000 students in biology taking a fully immersive experience that affords them an opportunity, whether they are at the campus, where again we have 75,000 students, or whether they are online, where again we have tens of thousands of students learning from home all over the world in ways that we think are much more than that first wave of online instruction, which was largely text-based, the current wave, which is largely video-based, the third wave in terms of systemic transformation opportunities, which is all about student engagement, is really going to be about immersive and we think significantly about discovery and experiential learning. Avi?
Thank you, Lev. It's really fascinating. And I think like the words that I heard very strongly when you were speaking were the immersive engagement, exploration, which are not trivial words in those situations. I think it's a great bet to take, and I can testify from our own mindset experience that we failed dramatically trying to put in VR 4 or 5 years ago. So I know all the challenges, and I'm really curious to see the outcomes. And I think both Yossi and you, Lev, have the unique perspective of speaking from a position of a very large audience. Like, it's not a boutique experimental kind of insight. It's really based on very large data. And I'm really curious to hear Jim, because Jim, in a way, meets both of you. Like, Jim used to be the Minister of Higher Education in the UK, so he knows extremely good the higher education system, and of course he's very deeply involved in the K-12 as well in the last years. So Jim, I'm really eager to hear your take on it.
Thanks, Avi, and it's great to follow Yossi and Lev. ASU is just always inspirational in terms of the innovation and what you guys are doing. And it's been great to listen into the rest of the conversation. And in my general reflections, Avi, would be to say, first of all, it's really exciting to see all over the world that education can change really fast when it has to. And that's, contrary to a lot of the perceived wisdom that it's all a little bit stuck in custom and practice. And that's inspiring for me as a policymaker, that if we can get it right, we can change things pretty quickly. I would also say that I've observed the consequences of an imbalance between educating for the head, for the hand, and the heart. And we are seeing the consequences in terms of the mental health and the well-being agenda now much higher up the priority list for our schools in particular, but our higher education institutions too. And that technology isn't the only answer, that nature is also the answer, and getting out and to some extent using the flexibility of time and space that technology gives us, allows us to get out of classrooms and allows us to get out of buildings and connect people with nature if we can give them access to that, and they can learn from that and get a big mental health boost from that. And as has been discussed before, parents really matter in K-12. And that's not going to go back. And instead of, when I was a minister, we were pretty preoccupied by parental choice. Now it's more about parental involvement being parental co-creation of the learning with the learner and the teacher. And that's a huge latent force that we are now able to unleash and is truly exciting. And two other reflections. First, assessment can change. In my country, we've just gone through 2 years where we haven't done the big round of summer exams in large sports halls on tiny little desks with a paper and pen. And the world didn't stop. We found a way through to give people pretty good gradings that were comparable with each other and allowed them to progress to the next stage in their educational journey, and go on in many cases to university or into the world of work. And that's so exciting that maybe we could move the assessment industry on. And Bob, I think earlier on, was talking a little bit about getting rid of grading and what that might look like. I think it was Bob, and I'm totally with him on that. And then the final thing, which plays to what Yossi and Lev have been talking about a bit more, which is the role of technology. And I suppose I would say, by and large, tech needs to do better. It's not really got itself inside the user experience of the learner. Too often, technology for education has been chasing after the sales, which is selling to customers and customers who want grades. It's not gone after designing for learning and really trying to design great learning experiences for people that may or may not result in qualifications, may or may not result in grades. That doesn't matter. The important thing is you create something that's engaging. That's what was exciting about what Lev's talking about Arizona State getting up to in terms of that sort of immersive learning. But it also goes right back to what Betsy was saying about, what's your gift? My gift would be power. Give power to learners. I visited a school on Friday that was doing this with huge effect, where you're saying to young people, what's your goal? The job of every single teacher is to coach goals. Where are you going as a learner? And we will never try and talk you down from that goal that you're going for, but we will be transparent about what you need in order to get there. So if you are a million miles from achieving your goal, we'll be transparent about the effort you're going to have to go to and the various hoops you're going to have to jump through in order to achieve your ambition. But we'll never talk you down. We will coach you. And if there are subjects that we don't offer in order for you to be able to do it, we will find a way of offering it to you, and we can do that using technology. We could probably get that course off Arizona State University. So, wrapping education around powerful learners is an opportunity that we can really do now, and that I can get really excited about.
Oh, it's a great framing, like the powerful learner. I'm really buying this notion, Jim, and since you were mentioning the gift that we started, it turns out that the gift is going to be our leitmotif this day. So maybe we can conclude this session also with thinking about the gift from each of the speakers, and maybe Yossi, I'll start with you, and then Lev afterwards. Yossi, if you would have to position one gift that you want to frame in this ecosystem, what would it be?
I'll continue the slogan of Jim, and I'll talk about the assessment. During the COVID, we could see many efforts that were invested in the struggle between the teacher and the cheater, which is the student. And we have suggested, and we still suggest, that if you use more and more digital systems like our adaptive learning system for mathematics, the assessment is built in. You don't need for these exams. It's built in. You have the ongoing dashboard for the teacher for the students. He can navigate by himself. And of course, it's all about trust. So I think that this is the main revolution, and not just to the values, but to offer by technology new opportunities to implement it. This is my gift.
Great. And Lev, what would be your gift?
I think that learner agency, which is, I think, sort of one of the threads here, is an enormously important concept around our design of pedagogy. And one of the things that we have already found in terms of our exploration of immersive learning environments is that not only do students do better, and we have good empirical evidence of tough intro biology data to actually support that once immersed in a playful environment, students are engaged and want to spend time, and with good support from faculty who can guide them through that environment, lead to better learning outcomes. It's also the case that students are interested in and are capable of actually designing their own learning environments. And so, in fact, we have had students build immersive environments for their own and for their peers' learning, which have been transformational in actually extending the learning way beyond the 50 minutes or the hour and 15 minutes of a typical environment. And so I think the gift here is, in fact, trusting our students to help co-create their own learning environments.
Amazing. And then in a way, I think you're all aiming to one family of gifts, which are all about agency and self-motivated learner, which is, I think, is the core of what we try to educate for anyhow. So it was really, I think we're reaching the end of our goal of our session, and I see Cecilia already was dragged into the screen. So I really, really want to thank you all. And I don't think anyone knows that all of us here spent some time in Yerucham. Lev spent like even a few months, I think, and working in factory in Yerucham, and Yossi spent a year in Yerucham, and Jim spent the night in Yerucham drinking single malt in a hackathon. So I think it's almost equivalent. So really, thank you all, and hopefully we'll see you again face to face in Yerucham. Thank you.